Hello and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program 2 Road to Exploration. And right now we're getting started off with a Goliath 3 sitting on top of a David 2 rocket. We're currently moving at 5 times speed, so that's why looks like a time lapse. Bill Kerman is currently flying off into space. And today he is going to discover whatever that weird signal that's coming from the mun is. Yeah, that's his contract mission today, and that's where he's off to. So, yeah, he is going to. Well, he's now. He's just used up all of the propellant in his first stage, and now we are circularizing we got the perfect circle. We circularized perfectly, got the perfect circle contract, and now we are going to the mun, and we are going to land in a mare and plant a flag there. And if you didn't know, the mares are the dark parts of the mares are the dark parts of each one of these, or it's the dark parts of the moon, and it's named after basically a long time ago. People thought that they were oceans on the moon. There aren't oceans on the moon, but we still call them mares, which mean ocean, and they look cool. We also do the same thing with Mars, and I think we do a lot. I think we do it with like all planets now. Anyway, here we are. We are about to deorbit. We're about to deorbit and land in one of the mares, and it's specifically the mare where the signal is coming from. Now, we're going to try and land as close to the signal as possible, but not landing directly on it. We will do missions later that will land directly on it. And as I can now see, it is, well, I guess we could all now see, it is an arch. Now, a lot of people will know that this is the arch that was actually included in KSP1's update. It was one of the multiple mun arches, and there are quite a few great videos of people trying to orbit straight through the arches. Yeah, they're quite great. But here we are. We're going to plant our flag. Bill Kerman on year 1, day 14. Landed on the surface of the mun, founding Darwin base. Yes, we are going to put a base here. Now, it's not going to be a colony because those aren't in yet, but I can't wait for them to be in. I believe either they're in the next update. I think they're in the next update. They're coming in the next update, which will be so cool. But anyway, here's the mysterious signal. Everyone knows that it shows the planets of the Kerbal system. And yeah, we're not going to leave. We're going to wait till he actually receives Darwin base, but we're not doing that right now. So basically, first off, we unlocked first dibs and the lunar signal, which mean we got like a bunch of science, just like an absolute amount, like large amount. I decided to read through these. It's basically they think it was a prank, which is actually a plot point in the movie, or not the movie. I haven't seen the movie, but the book Contact. In the book Contact, there is a subplot where a lot of people think that it is just a prank that is actually being waged upon the world, and it's actually like a decent source of tension throughout the book. But anyway, this was not a prank. There is actually an arch on the mun. And yeah, we'll see where that leads. Maybe it'll lead to other things. Who knows? But yeah, we got first dibs as well, which netted us 100 science, and it gives us the idea to do bad signal and wheelin' and dealin'. Wheelin' and dealin' is we actually have to put a rover, and I'm gonna put a rover on the mun. That's what I'll do. But first, we just have bad signal, which means that there is a signal coming from Minmus. And if you've watched any of my older videos, I actually go to this monument and I actually say how to get there just after Kerbal Space Program 2 just came out. This was all the way back like last February. I did a video about how to get to it. So yeah. Anyway, this is a whole new series. That was Road to KS. No, that wasn't Road to KSP2. But if you do want to watch an older set of videos, I do have an older set of videos called Road to KSP2. They are pretty entertaining. I did like 100 of them, and yeah, here I am. I'm unlocking the science. I decided to unlock fuel lines and I believe medium launchers, you know, yeah, I launched medium launchers, enhanced electronics, and I believe fuel lines, because fuel lines are pretty important. Yep, I did do fuel lines. And yeah, now we are going to get started with our second launch of the day. It's called the Ansari probe, and it's named after Anusha Ansari, who is an Iranian American who ended up going to space. I decided, and it's being launched on a John Chapman 2. Now, Anusha Ansari, she was actually a private citizen the first time she went to space, and actually I think every time she went. I'm not sure if she went to space more than once, but she went as a private citizen. And she actually did a decent amount of research while she was up there. Yeah. Just wanted to share that. She's also like the founder of like a Fortune 500 company now, or at least a Silicon Valley company. But anyway, this probe is actually designed to get us out into the out of the sphere of influence of Kerbin, and finally send our first probe into interplanetary space, which is a big leap for Kerbal kind. Alright, now we're having another thing. This is an Abrahamson lander on the John Chapman 2. This one's actually named after an astronaut who actually never even went to space. He never went to space. And I actually forgot his first name. But yeah, he never went to space, and I thought, like he made it into the astronaut. He made it into the astronaut like whole thing. Never went to space, and so I decided to name something after him. This probe is going to land on Minmus. Now it's gonna land on one of the planes of Minmus. And it's just going to do some research and send some stuff back, which is great. So we're actually going to send this out to also fulfill the weak signal contract that we have to do, which requires us to orbit Minmus, which, isn't particularly hard. So here we are. We are going to shoot out to Minmus. And get us to get an encounter. There we go. Now we have an encounter with Minmus. And I'm just going to fast forward till we're actually in the sphere of influence. I'm going to open up the solar panels because we ran out of electricity. Oops. And I decided to try and do like all the maneuver node stuff before I even got in, but it was just kind of a mistake. But here we are. Now I have it. The next burn will actually not just capture burn us, but also deorbit us around Minmus. So that's actually pretty good. And then we're going to use this. And yeah, we just netted the science points. And now we are going to try and land in one of the planes of Minmus. And if you didn't know what the planes of Minmus are, they're easily, in the first game, they're easily one of the flattest places that you can get to in the Kerbolar system, with the exception of the North Pole of Kerbin, which was incredibly flat in the original game. I actually haven't gone to the North Pole of Kerbin in this version. and KSP2. But yeah, it doesn't seem like it's as flat anymore, but it was still pretty flat when I was landing here. Like, it just looks all cracked, because Minmus is actually supposed to be made out of glass in KSP2 instead of quite literally mint ice cream like it was in the previous game. Which is kind of sad. It got rid of a little bit of that charm that KSP1 had. But I am actually kind of a fan of the more reality based thing as the second one. But that ended up netting us 400 science, and that doesn't include the extra science that we got. We got 113 science before we even finished that mission. And now we are getting 400 science because we finished said mission. Yeah. So now all we need to do is actually send something to actually find the Minmus monument. We also have to send up a thing called the Lil Chonker, which is going to be a I believe it's going to be a we have to send a fuel tank into space. But yeah, I'm going to do that later. And what we're going to do first, I believe, is send our next Minmus rocket. Or maybe not. Actually, I think we're going to send... Yeah, we're going to send our next Minmus rocket. This one is called Ox 1, and it's being launched on a Paul Bunyan 1. Now, if you didn't know, Paul Bunyan was a fictional myth lumberjack who was gigantic. I don't know what the deal is about his thing, but like you learn about it a lot when you're a little kid. And he also has a blue ox named Babe, and that's what I named the lander after. So it's Ox 1, and it is going to Minmus. And Ox 1 has really low thrust to weight ratio, which got me really scared when we get to Minmus. Yeah, here we are. This probe is actually, the whole thing was actually really low thrust to weight ratio wise. I will be updating the Paul Bunyan one in the near future because it was actually kind of atrocious how bad this launcher was. So yeah, and yeah, Paul Bunyan is going to end up being our super heavy lift launch vehicle, because, you know, Paul Bunyan was a super heavy guy. He was, part of his myth is that his footprints made all of the lakes in Minnesota. It's like part of his myth. It's actually kind of funny. Yeah, but here we are. I'm going to do a small correction burn. This small correction burn will allow us to capture in Minmus's orbit. So here we are reaching Minmus, and we'll be doing a capture burn. And we will also be trying to reach the North Pole of Minmus, because that is where the Minmus monument is. But first we had to do a little bit of science, because, you know, science, it's all about this game. It's how we unlock new stuff, and we want to unlock new stuff. So here we are. We are slowly lowering our orbital velocity, and I'm doing a small correction burn so that we get closer to the monument. Now here we are. We are going to slow ourselves down, and I ditched that stage. But there's like quite a big problem. I was very scared about how quickly this thing was actually heading towards the ground. Yeah, if it wouldn't slow me down unless I was pointing exactly at the I don't know, in the opposite direction of which I was going. So yeah, I ended up kind of crashing and losing a landing leg. But yeah, anyway, I decided to do a little thing. I put a flag there, said Tim C. Kerman landed there, put the date, and now I am having him research the monument. I'm also having him run some science at the monument, and then very quickly uh, returning to his module. Then I found out maybe since Minmus is so light, I could probably use the RCS to tip me up, and I actually could. And here I am, barely getting out of Minmus's, like just barely taking off Minmus. This actually took so long to get into orbit, and I am not used to that on Minmus. But the thrust to weight ratio on Minmus was like 1.3, which is so low. It's actually insane. But yeah, here we are actually getting up into space, and we should be orbiting soon, or getting into an orbital. Yeah, there we go. Now we can actually burn for orbit, and there we go, we've got orbit. But unfortunately, because we went to the North Pole of Minmus, it's actually kind of hard to deorbit yourself around Kerbin from the North Pole of Minmus. But thankfully, we have more than enough Delta V to do basically anything we want in the Kerbal system from Minmus, because the Delta V margins are just so low up here. Well, actually, they're so high up here, like, because you can just, like, 100 Delta V can get you out of like escape velocity from Minmus, which is pretty great. But yeah, here I am doing an actual deorbit burn, so that I can actually come back to the ground on Kerbin. Yeah. So here it is. I'm deorbiting. And there we go. I have learned my lesson. The Ant rocket engines are more for in-space maneuvering and not really for landing, because they are not strong enough. But yeah, here I am. I'm going to try and slow down my velocity as much as I possibly can, because I am worried about going in a little too fast. Jeez. There's a fire truck coming. And there we go. I've completely deorbited, and now I'm flying through the atmosphere. And now I am going to deploy my parachute, or first my drug chute, and then my parachute, and then softly touch down in that ocean. Now, the next thing, we got a bunch of science from that. We got 963 science. That's a lot of science. All right, so first we're gonna unlock a bunch of stuff. We're actually going to unlock durable. I think enhanced. Oh, yeah, we went for medium payloads, and then I think we go for, that's it. Oh, and then I think we go to mission control and actually unlock, yeah, the Minmus monument, which that's a 750 science, which is insane. I mean, 750 science in the last version was just an insane amount. But the science ramps a lot in this version of KSP, or in KSP2, science ramps up a lot, and you end up starting to need lots of science later on. So yeah, here we are. We're creating Darwin Station. And then, yeah, Random Lifter 1. I quite literally just put this rocket together. I don't know what it should be. And actually, I like the design. I may use the design later. It is just a standard heavy lift launch vehicle design. Kind of like a Delta IV Heavy or something like that. And yeah, here it is going off into space. And yeah, my problem with the Delta V, the what is it, the Boattail engine or something? Not Boattail. Anyway, the Poodle, and no, it's not the Poodle. Whatever engine that is, it has a hard time getting off. And also, this, I accidentally caught the fairing. I need to learn to put the ejection force on the fairings way up because they just keep getting caught onto the vehicles. But here we are. Darwin, oh, and I forgot to cover what Darwin Station is. Oh, well, I guess I kind of covered it. It's going to be our first MUN station. And yeah, it's going to house Bill Kerman for the first 6 months of the game, or first 250 days. I mean 250 days, not 6 months. But on day 250, Bill Kerman will be coming back from well, actually, I don't know. I'm actually going to install Kerbal Alarm Clock for KSP2 by the next episode. So that'll be pretty great. And it's kind of funny. I released a video about 3 or 4 months ago. It was like morning KSP2 with this or whatever. And then like they announced the science update literally the next week. And I was just ecstatic. I was very happy with how that is. And I'm so glad the science update has come out. I know that was random, but yeah, I'm just glad it happened. Alright, so here we are. We're going to try and deorbit and get as close to our guy over there at Goliath 3. But unfortunately, I actually went a little too fast and went a little too far over it. And I had to greatly slow down the way I was going. And then I started to get worried about how much Delta V I'd have to land. So here I am coming in for a landing. Just slowly going in for a landing. Maybe eventually I'll move it, or maybe this will just be a further out outpost. But here it is, landed, and I ejected all of the side parts. And yep, that's what it looks like. That's the station. Yes. Now we have the Newton Station. Now, Newton Station is going to fulfill the tank in orbit thing, and it's launching on a John Chapman 3. The John Chapman 3, it's barely getting off the ground here. It's going actually pretty slow, but don't worry, it is a strong beast. It is hauling a decently sized station piece into space, and yeah. As we get up into the upper atmosphere, I start to perform the gravity turn. I do it a little bit later than normal because the second stage doesn't have quite the delta V margins, or not delta V, thrust to weight ratio margins. But I do eventually go all in on the gravity turn. Now this is actually done via probe. There are no Kerbals on board. And it is going to actually just fully net us the best possible situation up here. And personally, I actually really like the idea of stations. I still have trouble with docking in KSP2, but that's neither here nor there. But here we are, the first orbital station in KSP2 in our save. And I wanted to drop this periapsis all the way down to a more reasonable one. It's going to be a low Kerbin orbit station. It's going to be in a normal orbit so that we don't have to do any sort of crazy orbital mechanics to actually, make sure this thing actually even reaches orbit. And yeah, it satisfies our contract, and I can just jettison that. And thank you guys so much for watching. We're back, baby. That's all I gotta say. We're back. Oh yeah, and if you like this, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you